Good evening. Good evening. I'm so happy you guys are joining tonight. So before we even get started, I have a question, okay? I have a question for y'all right now. Have you ever heard your phone ring when it actually did not ring? I'm serious. You check your pockets, you looking for it, nothing. You check your notifications, you like, I know I just heard something. You swore you just heard something. You swore that somebody was calling you, that somebody needed you, but nothing. And some of y'all probably laughing right now because you know exactly what I am talking about. Because when you spent years carrying an organization on your back, your nervous system starts expecting the next problem before it even arrives. And the thing about this is, somewhere along the way, we start calling this leadership. We start feeling like, oh, they need me. I got to make sure I answer every call. But I don't think it's leadership, y'all. I think it's more like dependency. And the scary part about it is most good providers don't become the bottleneck because they are controlling. Okay, let's talk about it. They do not become the bottleneck because they are controlling. They become the bottleneck because they actually care. Think about it. You answer the question because it's faster if you answer it. You just want to get it done. You cover the shift because people depend on you. You gotta have the answer. You gotta get it done. You gotta show up. You fix the documentation because you don't want your staff to get in trouble. You stay late because you care. You jump in because you care. You carry all these responsibilities because you care. But caring without systems eventually turns into caring. Do you hear me? Caring without systems eventually turns into carrying. And carrying will turn into overwhelm. And overwhelm eventually turns into dependency. Can we talk about it tonight? If we could talk about it tonight, talk about it in the chat, okay? Because before you know it, every decision comes through you. Every emergency has to come through you. Every question comes through you. Every problem comes through you. The organization is not producing stability. You are supplying it. And cousins, can I tell you something that might make you feel uncomfortable? Actually, I hold your hand when I tell you. The goal is not to be the smartest person in the room. In fact, being the smartest person in the room is actually dangerous. Because if the processes only live in your head, the room still needs you. If the systems only live in your head, the room still needs you. If the way that decisions get made only lives in your head, it only lives up here, the room will still need you. And if the room still needs you, you'll get called back into the room even when you're not there. And I know you know what I'm talking about. You get called back in the room even when you're not there. You on vacation and they need you. You at the basketball game during date night, trying to chill with your boo, and they still need you. You are at the parent teacher conference trying to see what's going on with your kids' grades, and they still need you. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, it's sleeping hours, but they still need you because your body left the room, but your needs to lead the room did not. And here's what's dangerous about that, okay? At first, it feels good. We're gonna talk about it. It feels good at first. You feel good. They need me. I'm answering all the calls for my agency. I'm getting it done. It feels good. People need you. The people are calling you. The people trust you. They depend on you. You feel important. You feel valuable. You feel needed. But eventually, being needed becomes exhausting. You are exhausted because now you're answering questions while you are on vacation. Or worse, because I know it's some other people here that don't even take vacations at all. You are checking your emails during dinner. One sec, guys. Let me just see what my team need real quick. You're taking calls from the basketball game. Hey, yeah, the medication was refilled. Someone just has to go grab it from the pharmacy. Okay. All right, let me call you back. You're solving staffing issues while you at the grocery store. She didn't come to her shift. This is the third time this week. Here I come, y'all. Here I come. I'll be there. You're laying in bed thinking about tomorrow's problem before today is even over. Tomorrow, I'm gonna go to that site and look through all the documentation because I already know they haven't been doing it. So I'm gonna just go ahead in the morning and just figure it out tomorrow, get it all done. That's you. And somewhere along the way, you stop owning a business and you start carrying your business. And here's the part that nobody tells you, okay? Being the bottleneck isn't usually a leadership problem. It don't always have anything to do with owning an agency. It's usually an identity problem. And I don't even think it started with your agency. I think it started before you even opened your agency. Because for a lot of us, it started because you were the oldest child. Maybe your mom worked overtime. Maybe your dad wasn't around. Maybe someone in the house was sick. Maybe someone struggled with addiction. Maybe there just wasn't enough help. Or maybe nothing was wrong at all. Maybe your parents just simply was trying to do the best that they could and the conditions demanded more than one person could actually carry. But either way, somebody had to step up, right? So you did. You stepped up. Even when I think about myself, I had seven siblings. Six were biological, and I had a brother cousin. Y'all know them brother cousins. My parents had adopted him at two because his parents were on drugs. And crazy enough, my parents adopted him because his parents was on drugs. But my father was actually on drugs too. But one thing about my mom held it down, you know? But even with her trying to manage everything, she still needed help. And I remember when I was about 17 or so, I would take her car, drop her off at work, because she had a steady job. She worked at the Salvation Army for about probably like 10 years. But she had to be there at 6 a.m. So whether my dad came home or not the night before, if he had a drug spree or a binge and didn't come home, she still had to get to work. So I would take her to work, and then after I dropped her off at work, I would take my siblings to school and then I'll go back and get her. So I tell you that story to let you know I understand. You had to help your younger siblings. You became the responsible party early. You had to figure things out. You solved problems. You carried things that weren't yours to carry. And then when you were doing this, people started praising you. They'll say things like, "You're so mature. What would I do without you? You're so responsible. I need you to take this on. You're so dependable. I'm glad you took it off my plate. We can always count on you. We need you to continue to save us." And they said these things as a compliment because in that season, those qualities helped your family survive. It helped your family survive. Y'all had to make it through tough times. But survival has a way of becoming identity. And eventually you stop helping, you become the helper. You stop solving problems, you become the problem solver. You stop carrying things, you become the carrier. And now our whole identity is built around being the person who saves the day, the fixer, the strong friend. So when you became an agency, you did not leave that identity behind. It still followed you. You brought it with you. So when the staff call, you save the day. The family calls you, you save the day. The manager calls you, you save the day. Somebody calls off, you save the day. And after years of doing that, you begin to believe that the organization needs you in order to survive. And I want to be clear because what I'm talking about today is not your fault. Okay? It's not your fault. Back then, those behaviors protected something. Back then, they served a purpose. Back then, they helped people survive. But what helped you survive yesterday maybe what's limiting what you're building today. It wasn't your fault then. No. But it is your responsibility to address it now. It wasn't your fault then, but your employees need a different type of leader now because the very thing that once protected the mission can eventually become the thing threatening the mission. So let me ask you something, okay? If the business requires your constant involvement in order to function, is that really leadership or is it dependency? Because leadership should create capacity, not dependency. Leadership should create decision makers, not decision waiters. And cousins, I think one of the most dangerous things that can happen inside your organization is when you, the owner, are the smartest person in the room. I think that's the most dangerous thing that can happen in your agency. And I'm not saying that because you shouldn't be smart. I mean, I hope you're smart. Families are counting on you to make intelligent decisions. So I hope you are smart enough to carry those things out. But what I'm saying is, if all the answers live with you, if all the decisions live with you, if all the problem solving lives with you, all the implementation lives with you, then what happens when you leave the room? Because if one person can stop the mission, even if that person is you, matter of fact, especially if that person is you, the mission is left unprotected. Even when I think back to when I was dropping off my siblings, I realized something. My mom had to equip me with problem solving skills, and she had to be able to trust me that once she left the car, I was going to protect her precious cargo because she was going to no longer be inside. She was going to have to go about her day. So the goal isn't for the owner to be the smartest person in the room. The goal is to build a room that gets stronger even when the owner leaves it. Leadership should create ownership, not dependence. And I already know I can hear y'all. I can hear y'all now, okay? I already know you thinking, Carmela, if I don't do it, it ain't gonna get done. Trust me, I gotta do it. And let's talk about that too, okay? And I'm not gonna pretend like sometimes that's not true because oftentimes it is. But sometimes it's really you saying, I don't trust the system. My mom had to trust me when she left the car. So that's honestly not even the problem, though. The problem is you don't have a system. Not one that you can trust leaves your team equipped to handle the mission when you are out. But if implementation only happens when you're watching, you don't have implementation, cousin. You have supervision. Let me say that again. If implementation only happens when you are watching, you don't have implementation. You have supervision. And supervision does not scale. You cannot supervise your way to freedom. You cannot supervise your way to organizational trust. You cannot supervise your way to a business that survives without you. At some point, the system has to become stronger than the owner's presence. The agency should be stronger than the owner. Think about that. Because organizations don't become sustainable when the owner knows everything. They become sustainable when implementation survives the owner's absence. Because if one person can stop the mission, even if that person is you, especially if that person is you, the mission was never protected. And that's honestly why I believe that one of the biggest risks facing providers right now, today, isn't a lack of knowledge. It isn't about knowing the rules or needing to know more. Because even if you don't know the rules by heart, knowledge is easily accessible, okay? We're in 2026. We have Google, we have AI, we have consultants, trainers, conferences, webinars, and even podcasts, okay? Information is everywhere. And yet, even with information at our fingertips, implementation is still breaking down. Which tells me the problem is not access to knowledge. The problem is what happens after that knowledge is acquired. The problem is that information does not automatically become behavior. And the result is leadership dependency. The organization depends on the owner for decisions to be made, problem solving, direction, consistency, and culture. And the owner becomes the glue holding everything together. But cousins, glue eventually wears out. So, what do we need to do instead? We need to stop trying to carry the mission ourselves. And we need to start creating the conditions for other people to carry it with us. We build systems. We build ownership. We build accountability. And most importantly, we build culture. Because culture is what teaches people how to behave when you are not in the room. And that's why the compliant CEO isn't about teaching people how to work harder. No, that's not what I'm doing. It's about teaching organizations how to function without requiring the owner to carry everything themselves. So before we wrap up tonight, I want you to ask yourself one question. What currently depends on me that shouldn't? What decisions? What responsibilities? What problems? What processes? And if you disappeared for 2 weeks, what in your agency would stop? Because your answer to that question will tell you exactly where your bottlenecks are hiding. And if you are serious about finding out where those bottlenecks are, I'm going to include a link to the provider risk assessment. Okay? This is completely free. So I want you to go ahead and take this assessment so you can see where your organization is strong, but also where your organization may be vulnerable, and see where leadership dependency may be quietly costing you more than you realize. Tomorrow night, I'm going to tell you my personal story. I'm going to share that with you. And I call my personal story the Range Rover story. You'll understand why tomorrow. This is the story of how the very thing that I thought represented freedom for me became the thing that showed me that I was not free at all. So I'll see you tomorrow, cousins. I want you to go ahead and take that assessment so we have something to talk about. And I want you to have a good night. Talk to you soon.